I call to order this meeting of the Warren County School Board for Thursday, April the 9th, 2015. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is to accept or modify the agenda. Is there a motion?
I move that we accept the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Community participation. Is there anyone who would like to address the board? All these people out here, no one wants to come speak? Consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Madam Chairman, I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Reports. Staff report. Instruction report. Mr. Drescher.
It's nice to see everybody this evening. Before we do the instruction report, when we just did the consent agenda, there was a personnel addendum, and I'd like to introduce a few people. The first person is not here. Sorry. Amy Gubler. She has just been appointed as the new principal for LFK. And Amy's coming to us from Rappahannock County. She is currently a high school assistant principal there. She has moved from the high school, and she previously was at the elementary school as an assistant principal. And prior to that, she was an ITRT, and a gifted and talented teacher, and a 4th and 5th grade teacher. So she comes to us with a wealth of experience, and we're very excited. The next person that we just approved is our newly designed positions STEM instructional specialist, and it's Justin Mayfie. There he is. All right. Justin also comes to us from Rappahannock County. We're really stealing from them. Sorry about that. Justin is a high school mathematics teacher, and he comes to us with a wealth of experience and very good pedagogic skills on how to instruct all students, and we look forward to having him guide us into our experience in developing STEM programs in Warren County. So we're very excited about that. And then finally, we have somebody that's been with us before. The new Skyline High School principal, Mike Smith. Mike, yay! And Mike comes to us from Frederick County, where he's currently the assistant principal at Sharando. And before he was the assistant principal at Sharando, he worked here. He was the dean of students at Skyline High School. And before that, he was a teacher at the junior high and middle school in Warren County. So it's nice to have Mike back home. I'll also just put a word out that during all his time in education, he also served our country and did a tour in Afghanistan. So we're very proud of that. So thank you.
Yay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and welcome to both of you.
Welcome back. Welcome.
Very excited. We've got some
Welcome
wonderful people here coming. All right, on to the instruction report. You've heard me talk frequently in the past years about AP courses, and we have expanded the number of AP courses fairly dramatically in the number of students that are taking them. And this year, our high schools ventured into AP Art and took on that challenge. And I'm very excited tonight to have with us Cindy Redmond, if she would come up. And she's going to speak with us just a little bit about AP Art, what it entails, and we have some examples for you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me here tonight. I have to say I've been here for 14 years, and this is the first time I've made it to a meeting.
Come back.
I will. I was approached about 3 years ago to teach AP Art, and I went, I'm not sure I'm qualified. Thanks to the school board, I attended a course last summer for AP Art. The school College Board offers 4 art courses: drawing, art history, 2D art, and 3D art. I chose to offer 2D because I'm most familiar with it. I thought I could do best with it. They can draw, they can paint, do mixed media, and photography. I've had 3 students this year. They all chose to do painting. 2D art requires them to do a sustained study in one focus. These kids did a phenomenal job. I let them choose today which pieces I would bring, and they all chose some of their end pieces. They have to produce 12 this year. And so if I had brought some of their beginning pieces, you would really see the amount of growth they've accomplished. This truly is college-level art. They've done a wonderful job. And so next year we have kids already signed up, and they're also going to be teaching 2 courses at Warren County High School also. So it's been a great success.
Will you be teaching the courses at Warren County?
No, Andrea Stewart and Allison Casada are both approved to teach.
Okay. And did any of your students come with you tonight?
No, they didn't. They didn't. But they're really quite talented. And I have no reason to believe that any of them would not pass the final exam and review of their portfolios.
I was in your class a
Yes.
couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
And you just said you had 3 AP art students. Were they in with other students?
They
'Cause
were.
It was a larger class, right?
They were. Unfortunately, because of scheduling and so many kids wanting to take art, this year AP in the fall was mixed in with Art 3 and 4.
Okay.
And in the spring, when you came by a couple weeks ago, they were mixed in with Art 1, which is a little harder to do, but, they get to work. They're very focused young ladies that have done this work. But it works. And certainly in the fall, our 3 and 4 students were able to see what they were accomplishing in the AP course and have, ideas of moving on to this level.
And I
So
think it was.
what does the final evaluation consist of
They produce,
to get
actually,
the AP score?
Yeah, they have to produce 24 pieces over the year. 12 in a breadth of work, which can be any kind of work, and then 12 pieces in their concentration. And their concentration is chosen by them. They happen to all choose painting, but it could have been mixed media or drawing. We upload those and send them to the College Board on a computer. We have to photograph all their work and do that. And then in the end, by May 8th, we have to send in 3 pieces of their choice physically to that. And the College Board actually, I learned this last summer, reviews between 4,000 and 5,000 different portfolios. And they have a warehouse where they put this all out, they review on the computer, and then they review the actual pieces. So it's quite entailed. The students receive their work back in July, and we should know by the end of June, beginning of July, what they make. They can make it anywhere from a 0 to a 5. If they make a 4 or a 5, they have the possibility of colleges accepting it as a college course and getting credit for it.
That's great.
When you mentioned Warren County High School, you mentioned Andrea Stewart and someone else, that means there'll be AP photography and an AP art class,
Exactly.
right? Okay.
Andrea, you have to submit your syllabus to the
Right.
school, College Board, and she just got hers accepted for photography. And then Allison Casada is sending hers in, and I have no doubt she'll get hers accepted too.
For 2D as well?
For 2D also, right.
Great job.
Thank you.
I always wonder if any of them are for sale.
I think you could probably approach the girls to do that. Yeah, they have, they produce 12 pieces apiece plus their whole breadth of work, so they've got quite a portfolio to show, yeah. It's really nice.
Very nice.
We give you a little feedback. My youngest son has recently turned 40, and his wife for Christmas gave him one of these super duper fancy digital cameras. At Warren County High School, he got involved with photography, loved landscapes and barns and things like that. The other day on the iPhone, he sent me a couple of pictures. He was out going over to Culpeper, and so he's on the loose again, so it's stuck.
It does. And, you know, a lot of kids, two of these young ladies are undetermined what they want to major in when they got to college. But one young lady is already accepted to JMU in fine arts. And the way I always tell them, you know, after having them for 4 and 5 years in art, you go, it's something you're always going to have. It may not be your focus or your major. It's going to help you get to where you want to be, and you'll always have it to go back to. So it's a God-given talent, obviously. So,
Well, thank you for bringing that tonight.
thank you.
Thank you.
For the next part of the instruction report, I'll ask Janet Myers to come forward and introduce our special guest.
I'd like to talk about our course called Independent Study. This is an elective that is available to juniors and seniors at both of our high schools. Students who choose to do that as one of their courses can then choose their topic, really anything that they want to do. It gives them an opportunity to go further, perhaps in a subject area than the classes that we offer at the school, or go more in depth into something, or perhaps just a topic that we don't have a class in that they're interested in. They have to find a mentor to work with them. Usually it's a teacher at the school. Sometimes it's someone out in the community, but they have to find that person themselves. They have to write up a proposal of what they plan to do for the time, present it to a committee, and then we approve it. And then they can do it either one semester or all year, depending on their time available. They have to document their time and keep track of all of that. And they do work very independently under the supervision of the mentor. And then at the end of the time, in the end of the year, or sometimes at the end of first semester, they put together a presentation about what they did in their independent study, and they present back to the committee. So we have a student who completed her independent study first semester and did her presentation, and we thought she did an excellent job, and so we thought you might enjoy hearing her presentation. So we have Abby Wilson from Warren County High School. She was interested in medicine, and she wanted to pursue an independent study about that, and so she'll tell you more about that. Thank you.
Okay, hi, I'm Abby Wilson, as Ms. Myers just said, and I thought it would be good to give you guys a little bit of background on why I chose this subject before I actually start. So I did my project on infectious disease. Originally, I wanted to do a project that was on the medical field in general because I'm going to college next year and I wanted to figure out some ideas of what exactly I want to do. And the medical field is so big that there's tons of choices. And so I narrowed it down to oncology and infectious disease, which are kind of similar to each other, but not really. And I realized when I started to come up with how I was going to do this independent study that I wasn't going to be able to do both of them. And so I chose infectious diseases. So like I just said, I've wanted to be a doctor ever since I was young. I always liked to wonder why things were happening and how everything connected. And in high school, I took biology, and I also go to Mount Vista Governor's School, and I'm in the biology strand there, so I took advanced biology last year, and this year I'm taking microbiology, and I also took anatomy and physiology, and there wasn't really any more options in that type of work, so I had to do an independent study. And I chose infectious disease rather than oncology because I think it's a broader picture of the medical field, and infectious disease encapsulates like every body system. If like infectious disease doctors, if someone has some type of persistent trouble and they can't figure out what's wrong after seeing multiple different doctors, they might go visit an infectious disease specialist, and they have such a big picture of medicine, that instead of focusing, so for example, if someone had some type of digestive problem, instead of just focusing on that system, an infectious disease physician would look at everything else. And so when they look at it as a big picture, then it's easier for them to figure out what exactly is going on rather than just looking at one specific thing. So the Mayo Clinic defines infectious diseases as diseases that are caused by a variety of organisms, including but not limited to bacteria, viruses, fungi, or parasites. And how these infectious diseases spread and occur is you can have some type of microorganism, for example, Streptococcus epidermis, and what happens is if this is just apparent on your skin somewhere, then it might not give you any type of reaction, but if it gets inside of your tonsils, that's how you get strep. And so these diseases can spread from that type of way, and they are very popular and they're seen a lot. It's the second leading cause of death in the world and the third in the United States. And there's also a big connection between these and child deaths. So most people that die from infectious diseases are under 4 years of age. So there's two main types of infectious disease, emerging and rare. And then the emerging, there's two different types, emerging and re-emergent. And so some examples of these are swine flu, which is actually H1N1 is another name for it. And it's spread from bacteria that is released from, it can be from different things, but it's typically seen in pigs. And what happens is, as seen in the picture there, if a kid, they don't necessarily have to be licking the tongue or nose of the pig, but if someone is around a pig or whatever has this virus and then they inhale it, then different types of variants can form, and then it keeps spreading from person to person after that person has gotten it. Ebola is another recent example that I'm sure everyone has heard of, and that's spread from bodily fluids. So it's pretty much the same idea, but this is connected more to a fruit bat rather than a pig. And then SARS stands for Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome, and that is basically like a really bad pneumonia infection. So the first picture is from 5 days of having this, and the opaqueness that is seen around the sternum just keeps getting bigger and bigger as the pictures go on, which is the days going on, and that is the pneumonia infection, and that usually causes death. And so these aren't really, the SARS isn't something that's seen a lot, but it was prevalent at one point in time. So an example of one of these infectious diseases that might not be as well known is called whirling disease, and it's a parasite that infects fish in the salmon family. And what happens is the parasite goes in through the epidermal cells in the salmon, and then once it's inside there, it infects the spinal cord. And so the first thing that happens is the deformation in the tail and spine of the fish, and then from there the brain is also infected, which causes the difference in the color, and it also makes them whirl, which is why it's called whirling disease. And this was first seen in America in Pennsylvania in 1956, and since then, well, by 1995 it spread to 21 of 50 of the states. And so the reason why this spreads is from just the natural flow of fish, because it keeps spreading on the parasite. Whenever a fish is infected with this, they then release it again back into the water. Sorry. And then if another fish comes by, then they just can obtain the spores, and then it affects them as well. And so it keeps getting passed on and on. And so if one of these are in like a fish hatchery, or if there's some type of sporting for fishing going on, and then there's only one that has it, then it just spreads to all the others. Another example of an infectious disease is influenza, which is popular. And what happens with influenza is that some people get shots for it, and when you get a shot for it, you're being given a form of it. And there's so many different variants that what happens when you get it is that doctors who are well trained find what type they think is going to be most prevalent, and then they give you the shot for that. But what can sometimes happen is that isn't exactly what is prevalent, and so if you get another type, your body has antibodies that can fight it, but maybe not as well since you weren't given that exact form. And this is a picture of where influenza is seen the most. And the red and yellow is where it's seen more, and then as it gets to green, it's not as much. And then in some areas, it's not at all. So another type of infectious disease is rare infectious disease, and rare infectious diseases are diseases that infect less than 200,000 people. And so an example of this is called Hirschsprung's disease, and this is when babies are born missing nerve cells in their intestines. And if they only have a small amount of these nerve cells missing, then it's not as easy to diagnose. But if they're missing a lot, then it is diagnosable, because what happens is the picture on the top is a normal intestine, and the picture on the bottom is one with a child who has Hirschsprung's. The area around their colon gets really inflamed because since they're missing the nerve cells, when they try to go to the bathroom, nothing can come out because the nerve cells aren't there to move it along the path. And so it gets really inflamed in the areas. And then in the rectum and anus area, it gets really close together because nothing can come out since the nerve cells aren't there. And so you can figure out if a baby has it because they are constipated, they can't use the restroom. If they do, it's really hard for them. And they also have other symptoms that go along with that, like vomiting, being bloated. And so they think that this has a genetic link. And the reason why that is infectious is because the gene that is passed on that gives the child this disease has some type of problem with it, which could be a virus or bacteria that was inside the mom, which then went to the child, and then the child is born with this disease. And so in order to fix it, they do something called a pull-through procedure, which is where they remove the nerve cells that are damaged. And then after they remove these, they connect the healthy ones back together. And in that process, the bowel system is then able to work again. And sometimes they have to get a colostomy after this because they can't use it right after then because it's like sore and it's not properly functioning yet, so they have to wait a little while. But that's typically what happens. And sometimes there's complications with this. If the procedure isn't done correctly, then they can have constipation and they can have serious infections, and then the procedure would have to be done again, and that's usually when the colostomy is required so that they can still function right. But a way to control this is to look at their diet and make sure that they're eating things with a lot of fiber in them so that they can still go to the bathroom. So more on the career side, now that I talked about these diseases, there's a lot of different options, but one of them is having a private practice. And I found a quote from a doctor named Larry Martinelli, which says, "Infectious disease is about solving mysteries, figuring out really complex, difficult cases when nobody else has a clue what's going on. You put it all together and the light bulb comes on. That's what I love about this job." So that just shows basically what he does every day is he has people come in that have no idea what's wrong with them, and he has to figure out what happened. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the show House before, but Dr. House is an infectious disease physician, and that's what happened. Obviously in real life you might not see those cases, but there are things that are similar to it. So, like I said, an infectious disease physician sees patients who aren't sure exactly what's going on. And the first steps that these physicians do is they do different tests. They can do x-rays, different types of blood tests, just examining the body to see if there's something that someone missed. And then from there, they try to figure out the best route to take, and if they can't, they might refer them to another specialist. But typically they can figure out at least some idea of what's going on. So as far as job demand, the medical field is going to experience an 18 to 24% increase in the next few years, and the reason why this is happening is because people obviously need to see doctors all the time in some type of way. This world is always going to need doctors, so it's really a good field to go into, it seems like. And as far as demographics, on the East Coast, doctors typically don't get paid as much as those that live in the West Coast just because there aren't as many that go there. So after you finish medical school, when you get assigned hospitals, a lot of people don't necessarily want to go to the West Coast. But as you go further north on the East Coast, the salary increases significantly. And so I just thought that was an interesting part. But there's also, in the pediatric field, you can be an infectious disease physician, and 60% of pediatric doctors are specialized in infectious disease in some type of way. So my primary care doctor, her name is Dr. Gawalt, and I talked to her about like what I want to do, just because she is a doctor, to figure out, like what it's like. And she told me that she doesn't think that primary care doctors are going to be having as many job opportunities, since now whenever people get sick, they just go to urgent care, or there's like ear, nose, and throat clinics if they think they have an ear infection or something. And so she said that if she was starting off her career over, then she wouldn't have chosen the field that she was in necessarily. So that's interesting. And I also looked at different medical schools and tried to figure out which ones were the best for studying infectious disease. And how I did this ranking was I went on like 5 different sites, and then all the sites didn't have the same ones in the same order. I gave them a number, so if they were number 1 on that site, then I gave them 1, and then if they were number 2 on another site, then I gave them 2, and then found the average. So Harvard was number 1, and then the University of California at San Francisco is 2, Johns Hopkins was 3, Stanford is 4, Yale is 5, and UPenn is 6. And so this just gives you an idea of, if you want to be one of the best physicians, it's kind of a good idea to go to a good medical school, and it's way easier to get placed as a physician after going to a prestigious medical school. So after medical school, you then have to be an intern. You have to go through an internship, and after the internship, if you want to specialize in something, for example, infectious disease, you do an extra residency in that field, and then from there you can either be an internal medicine doctor, which is what you get after interning, and then if you keep going, then you can be some type of infectious disease physician. So I tried to contact doctors to talk to for this project, but that's really hard to do because they're so busy and there's a lot of patient confidentiality issues. And what I was able to do was contact an office manager of the hospitalist at the hospital in Winchester. And I had a meeting with her, and she basically explained to me what the doctors that she works with do every day. She is their mom, she said, and she basically helps them with everything they do, and whenever they're mad, they talk to her about it. So she has a pretty good idea of what their lives are like. And she showed me the different routes that they follow. So if the first route started on a Wednesday, then they'd work from that Wednesday to the next Wednesday at a certain time. And then the next week they might have a different time shift, and then it just keeps changing. And what they do is they come in, and then they have these cards that have all the new patients that came in from that night or the day before if they weren't there then. And they pick the patients that they want, so it's first come, first serve. And she said sometimes they fight over them to try to get the easiest patients, because the patients there just come in and go out. And so they get the patients, and then they take care of the same patient while they're on it, but if the patient stays, the next week they might have a different patient. And it's basically people that come here, people who are referred from primary care doctors who need to get a hip replaced, or they need to have some type of treatment that's basically outpatient. So they're just there for a few days, if that, more like a day or 2. And then after that, she explained a certain type of doctor that they have there, which is known as a Doctor of Osteopathy. And I never had heard of that before. And basically, instead of being a medical doctor, if you're a doctor of osteopathy, you look at the whole body and the musculoskeletal system. So rather than just looking at if your foot hurts, it's just in your foot, kind of like infectious disease. For example, plantar fasciitis is something that a lot of runners get, and it's where you get really bad heel pain, and sometimes you can even have a limp from it. And so a doctor of osteopathy would look at that as, where is the source of this? Rather than just treating it and just giving you medicine to make it stop hurting, why is it happening? And what they do is, for plantar fasciitis, they would figure out that there's something wrong with the calf muscle. If your calf muscles aren't strong enough and you run a lot, the way you're planting your foot is affecting your heel, which makes it hurt. And they do other stuff like that. And they try to figure out a way to treat patients without using antibiotics or surgery, if it's possible to do so. So like patients with asthma, menstrual cramps, I think also migraines, they can figure out a way to help with those rather than prescribing some type of drug for it. And I think this field is going to expand a lot in the next few years because of antibiotic-resistant bacteria that is coming about. I think people are going to try to come off of antibiotics a little bit, and also for a lot of athletes, this is really helpful because if they find out why things are happening, then they can prevent it from happening more and from happening to other people. And then I have a lot of references. Any questions?
Well, I just want to say that you're extremely intelligent, very articulate, and very poised in front of all of us, and you didn't even have notes. That was very impressive. But I have a question, because I eat a lot of salmon.
I knew that was going to
As long as it doesn't look like the one she showed us,
Yeah.
we should be okay.
That disease that infects salmon and the swine flu that affects the pigs, once they're cooked, if they have that infection in them, does that transmit to humans after they've been cooked properly?
I think it depends on the infection. For swine flu and also the whirling disease, the parasites would die from the heat that is cooking them.
Okay.
No sushi.
I don't eat anything raw, and I know a friend who eats her pork raw, rare.
It amazes me what you pick up from.
But she doesn't kiss the pig, right?
Yeah, as long as she doesn't kiss the pig. That was
Any
great.
other comments?
Thank you.
Mr. Wells, do you have any comments? That should have been interesting to you with all your.
Well, I don't like the comments about not prescribing drugs, but
I do.
Tell her what you do. Tell her what you do for a living.
I'm a pharmacist. So.
And former hospital administrator. So I enjoy
You
that.
do have to mother physicians.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. She was right.
So where are you going to school?
I was accepted to all the schools that I applied to, but right now I'm deciding between the University of Virginia and the Honors College at Virginia Tech.
Very good.
Okay, good.
Well, good
Thank
luck
you.
with your future.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight and presenting to us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, well, I don't think you can top
Pretty
that.
impressive, yeah.
Hard to follow, right?
Yes. Superintendent report. No report?
It's hard to follow. I really don't have anything much tonight. I will say that we are getting to that time of year where many, many activities are beginning to happen in our schools, and we are compiling a list of all those kinds of things that we will have to you at your next meeting, so you'll know the different events that you can participate in or visit. So
Okay, thank you.
other than that, I don't have anything tonight.
I had a bunch of students call me today. What is the timeline for you being able to sign diplomas? No, just
Not next week.
not next week. But they will get signed, so they'll graduate, right?
They will get signed.
The school board report. Mr. Rosen?
I don't have anything.
Mrs. Sharefko?
Yesterday, I finished my 18th day at Warren County High School this year, conducting several poetry seminars, and an interesting thing happened as I was leaving the classroom to go out of the building. I was escorted by one of the students in the class, and he was just like the rest of the class. He was great. His insights were wonderful, and he said that he's probably one of his best skills is analyzing literature. He said, but what can I do with it if I'm not going to be an English teacher? No offense. And I said, none taken. But I tried to explain that what his real skill is the ability to think outside the box, to think critically, analytical skills, which he can use in any field. He's thinking of going into business. So it's interesting that he likened his skill set to the English classroom, but it's not the case at all. I mean, if you're teaching students to think, they can use that skill anywhere. So I just thought it was very interesting, and I liked the escort.
Are you finished with your teaching for the year?
Today, well, at Warren County High School, but I start next Wednesday at Mountain Vista Governor's School with a seminar.
All right, thank you. Mr. Wells?
Nothing this evening.
And I also have no report this evening. Action agenda, presentations by staff. Authorized issuance of invitation to bid for new middle school. Mrs. Shepherd.
Thank you. Good evening. At the November 15th, 2014, or November 25th, 2014 school board meeting, Fred Hughes and Eddie Evans from Blue Justice Upton Architects presented the plans for the new middle school. The new middle school will be 154,800 square feet on 31.91 acres and is designed for 800 middle school students. The facility has been designed to be environmentally responsible and energy efficient. The architects are working towards LEED Silver certification. At the January 8th, 2015 school board meeting, the school board authorized Blue Justice Upton Architects to design a platform stage as a second ad alternate. The platform stage will be located in the student commons area and will allow up to 350 seats. The design of the platform stage is complete. At this time, we are requesting approval of the construction documents and authorization to bid the project. If approval is granted, we will advertise the bid for the general contractor in mid-April, receive bids in mid-May, and give notice to proceed to the selected contractor in mid-June. Substantial completion of the facility will be in June 2017, with owner move-in in July 2017. Attached to the cover sheet is the updated schedule. And then after that is the overall plan of the facility in floor 1 and floor 2.
Because there have been so many iterations of that auditorium, cafetorium, whatever, how many add-ons will there be? Will there be just the most recent cafetorium, or will there be 2 options?
Good question. The general bid will be with no auditorium at all. There'll be an ad alternate 1, which will include the modified auditorium, which will be a flat floor auditorium and will seat up to 500 seats, and we'll have a raised stage and more sound and lighting, just like an auditorium, just with a flat floor. The platform stage will be ad alternate 2.
Okay, thank you. That's
You're
what I
welcome.
was assuming. Okay.
Any other questions?
You don't have any? No?
Nope. I'm good. Yeah. Madam Chairman, I move the construction documents for the new middle school be approved as presented and authorize the issuance of an invitation to bid.
Second.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion carries. Yay. Authorize issuance of request for proposals for owner's representative for construction of new middle school.
Thank you. In mid-June, the general contractor will be selected for the construction of the new middle school. For the construction phase of the new middle school, we will need to contract or hire an owner's representative or clerk of the works to monitor the progress of the construction. The owner's representative is primarily responsible for advocating for what is in the best interest of the owner and overseeing the construction project during the construction phase. The owner's representative will inform us if any problems arise during construction. The recommendation is to contract with an organization for this service. In order to secure this service, we will need to send out a request for proposal to solicit offers for the representative. The representative will be an independent contractor for monitoring construction throughout the construction process, making sure that it's being built on time and in accordance to the plans. Attached to this cover sheet is the RFP for the owner's representative, as well as the responsibilities of the owner's representative. We have had a clerk of the works for our last projects. We feel like we will not need a full-time clerk of the works for this project.
I was wondering.
So at the beginning of the project, that person may be on site 2 to 3 days. During the middle of the project, 4 to 5 days. And then at the end of the project, when we're doing punch list items, maybe just 1 to 2 days. So it'll vary depending on what phase we're in of the construction.
We also may have the opportunity to increase the amount of time that the architect's representative is on site as well. Currently, it's like a twice-a-month situation, and we are talking with them about maybe actually having a once-a-week contact.
Okay.
And I think that's probably a good idea, but that will come at a later date.
Exactly.
And the architect's representative, which is our representative as well, is, works very well with clerk of the works and any clerk of the works person. And I think later on it would be beneficial for you all to consider having him come once a week as opposed to twice a month.
Do we know who that is?
Yes, it's the same person that did the middle school.
Okay.
Yay.
Sometimes over time, those folks come and go. And
No, he will be assigned to this project.
And he's actually already working with us
Yeah.
quite closely to get the last bits and pieces done for the design, so.
Okay. Thank you.
I move approval be given to solicit proposals for an owner's representative to monitor construction of the new middle school.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mrs. Shepherd.
Thank you.
Presentations by superintendent. Exchange of school board ESA property for County of Warren Leech Run property on which new middle school is to be built.
According to Section 22.1-129 of the Code of Virginia, a school board can convey real property deemed to be surplus to the county in which the school division is located. A school board must adopt a resolution that declares the designated real property to be surplus and conveys it to the applicable county. You have attached to the cover sheet a resolution of conveyance, and it basically states that according to Section 22.1-129 of the Code, surplus property sale, exchange, or lease of real and personal property allows for the exchange of real property. And the next section does quote the Code of Virginia. I'm not going to read all of that to you. You can certainly see that. And but I will say, whereas the Warren County Board of Supervisors at its March 17, 2015 regular meeting approved the conveyance of 31.91 acres of land to the Warren County School Board for a middle school site in exchange for the Warren County School Board conveying to the County of Warren the 107.06 acre ESA property south of John Marshall Highway. And the resolution states that therefore be it resolved that the Warren County School Board declares 107.06 acres of the ESA property to be surplus real property, and that it be further resolved that the Warren County School Board at its regular April 9, 2015 meeting conveys the 1.706 acres ESA property to the County of Warren in exchange for the 31.91 acres of land designated for the middle school site. The purpose of this resolution and of the exchange is that the county did purchase land from the EDA to build this middle school, and the exchange of the property will allow us as a school system not to have the cost of that land for the middle school in our debt service. We, as you recall, the ESA property was one of the properties that was looked at to build the middle school, and it was determined that it was not a suitable site to do that. I think it's a nice site. We don't have any educational programs up there currently, and I cannot see in the near or far future where we would have anything permanently up there. So therefore, I think it's a great way for the county to use the property and to probably develop some parkland and that kind of thing, and for us to be able to have the Happy Creek property that is certainly much more suitable for a middle school.
Debt-free.
Any discussion? Questions?
No, we don't have the debt service, which is a
We would
big
not have the
item.
debt service, no,
Right.
of that part.
You want me? Sure. I move that the Warren County School Board approve the resolution of conveyance 107.06 acres ESA property south of John Marshall Highway to the County of Warren in exchange for 31.91 acres of land for a middle school site.
I would second the motion.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
I just make one comment. This is another very good example of cooperation, transparency, working together for the mutual benefit of both parties. I'm really
Absolutely.
excited about this.
Well, actually, it even goes a little bit beyond that. The EDA was a
Right.
partner as well.
That's true,
The EDA
yeah. We had
purchased the property, conveyed it to or sold it to the county, and then we've made this exchange. So
Right.
it's an example of how everybody can work together. And
Yes.
And also, I mean, the property, no one made any money on the property either. The EDA did not charge the county any more money than it paid for the property as well, so.
Thank you. Discussions for school board. Election of vice chairman of Warren County School Board. Well, when Mr. Boyle stepped down, we lost our vice chair, so we now need to appoint another vice chair.
Madam Chairman, I nominate Ms. Joanne Cherefko to serve the remaining term of Vice Chairman of the Warren County School Board.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Did you catch the number of the bus that went
Ms. Bauer, now's the time you tell her you won't be here for the next 3 meetings.
Well, I probably won't be here for the last meeting in May.
I can handle
It'll be a
the
work,
gavel.
it'll be a work session. Select date and time to interview North River District School Board member candidates. I think we were looking at, what, April 23rd, next meeting?
I believe so. I think I believe you will have time to interview the candidates and still do a work session on the same evening. And I believe you can probably, it might be helpful if you start at 4:30 as opposed to 5, if you can do that. Do the interviews at 4:30, starting at 4:30, and then the meeting is at 5 on the April 23rd.
4:30 or 4?
4 o'clock.
I mean,
this
Oh, did it
says.
say 4? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Mr. Ballantyne says 4 o'clock.
Just a suggestion.
Yeah, 4 would be fine.
Do we know how many letters we have up to this point?
To my knowledge, there's one at
I
this
have
point.
one.
But the deadline is not until a week from tomorrow.
Is
that
it
work with
possible to
everyone's
leave it flexible? I mean, if we don't get more than one, we could do it at 4:30. You know,
Yes,
because that's closed session, right? It's,
correct.
I mean, as long as we're saying we're having a 5 o'clock workshop, we can be flexible with the 4 versus 4:30.
But does 4 o'clock work for everyone in case we do need to do it at 4? Does that work?
Okay.
Okay.
We'll let you know for sure what
Okay.
time frame.
Okay. Do we need to make a motion for that?
Yes.
Well, I move that the starting time of the April 23rd, 2015 be moved to either 4 o'clock p.m. or 4:30 if there's only one applicant, to allow for a closed meeting to interview school board member applicants.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Please take the time to look over the potential April 23rd agenda items, the naming of the new middle school, special election annual plan, approval of the budget and salary scales, and the interview of the potential or school board member candidate. Any other business right now? We do need to go into closed session.
This motion is made that this open public meeting of the Warren County School Board become a closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711. The school board desires to discuss the following matters in a closed meeting. Section 2.2-3711A2, discussion or consideration of admission or disciplinary matters or any other matters that would involve the disclosure of information contained in a scholastic record concerning any student in Warren County Public Schools, specifically the request from two families for release from compulsory attendance pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.1-254B. And Section 2.2-3711A1, discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of two employees of the school board. Be it resolved that the School Board of Warren County does hereby authorize discussion and closed meeting of the matters identified herein.
Second.
Mr. Valentine, please call roll.
Madam Chairman,
Aye.
Mrs. Cherefko,
Yes.
Mr. Rosen,
Yes.
Mr. Wells.
Aye.